Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. And welcome to the Accountability Gap 2012 with the Boston Red Sox. It's not bad enough that they have a flawed pitching staff, but the inmates are running the asylum. Daniel Bard wants to be the fifth starter, and why not? If you're a 10-game winner and a fifth starter, you might be able to make $7 or $8 million a year. Whereas if you're a stud reliever in middle relief picking up a lot of holds, you're probably not going to make more than 4 or 5, unless you're the Red Sox dumb enough to pay Jenks $6 million a year. But Bard decides when he can pitch, what his role is, what days he has to have off. It's madness.
Well, so it's like that all over, Ron. I mean, in every sport. I mean, the players are making so much money, they're dictating when to be used, when they want to play, when they want days off. It's just about ridiculous right now. Well,
the shocking part to me is I had a discussion with my son, and he said, well, he's an independent contractor. He can do pretty much whatever he wants because, you know, he's playing for himself, not for the team. And I'm thinking, well, obviously I grew up in another era where, you know, if I went to the ball game, I came to see the team play, not Daniel Bard. Now, it's probably not just Bard, it's everybody else too, but he's the one who stands out at the moment.
Yeah, once they get their big contract, like Euclid, Pedroia got a pretty good contract. He was set for life. Once they get that first contract, he hasn't gotten it yet, Bard. But once he gets it, he'll settle down. But, you know, he's trying to make the big money.
Well, you know, it seems to me that if you're a semi-proven, established player, and by no means did Daniel Bard convince anybody of his outstanding pitching down the stretch last year, then you have a little bit more cachet and call on our emotions than if you're competing for the fifth starter spot. And you have lots of other guys like Aaron Cook down in the minors who can do everything that Daniel Bard does in the fifth spot.
But you know the way I look at it too, Ron, is there's so many games in baseball. It's like 6 different seasons. We've talked about that. I mean, Sox fans get down on the Red Sox when they start off bad. They win 10 in a row. They're back high with the team. But with Bard, what I would do with Bard is I'd let him start. I'd let him have about 7 starts. He could turn out to be a great starter. I mean, if he's that good, I mean, he has a great fastball. His slide is pretty good. His changeup is good. And, I mean, just wait 7 games. I mean, right now they put him back in the bullpen. He missed his third start.
Well, he's going to pitch tomorrow, so yeah. We'll see what happens.
But let it go. Let it go and see what he does.
And, of course, today, Bruins fans are licking their wounds as repeat turned into defeat. The black and gold became the black and blue. And, you know, it's not because the Bruins played terrible. It was the most competitive series in the history of the NHL with every game decided by 1 goal. And it's pretty much a toss-up, a coin flip as to who wins in these situations.
Yeah, what the Bruins need, I mean, Sagan is not a sniper. Sagan's going to be a very good offensive player. I think he's going to be very good all around myself. He's getting better and better. But he's not a sniper. You know, Ryder was a sniper. He could take, you know, he can shoot the puck just inside the blue line and score. He had a strong shot. I mean, some of the defensive players do. Chara does, but he's not a sniper. That's one thing they need. But the reason why they lost, it's this simple. They didn't want it as much as Washington, and they didn't want it as much as last year. You got to look at this team. Last year, I think they played 26 playoff games, 25 or 26 playoff games. Every one of them was a tough game. Every game. I mean, Philly, they kind of dominated, but the other 3 series were real tough. They didn't want to go through it again. I'm telling you, Ron. Psychologically, they're thinking, all right, they're going to give the effort, but, you know, we don't care. I mean, they didn't care as much as they did last year.
Well, you have the so-called big guns, guys that I mentioned before the series, Lucic and Marchand, and basically did nothing. The series, Lucic had a good pass to Sagan in Game 6, but beyond that, I don't think he scored a goal in the series. It's pretty much a non-factor. And the team has to decide what to do with personnel. Do you bring Thomas back, or do you say we're going to go young and start over again?
People are saying, you know, let Thomas go, trade him, maybe get a pretty good offensive player for him. Thomas has a couple more years left. But teams are going to see. He wasn't sharp in this playoff series. As a matter of fact, I think out of all the players, he was the happiest that they lost. I mean, they interviewed him today, and he says, I thought we were going to win it again. I really believed it. But I think it was like 1,000 pounds were off his shoulder when they lost that game. There was a lot of pressure on him. And I really believe players like him, Lucic, they didn't want to go through what they went through last year. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup last year. They won it, so they have that. They have that ring. And I really feel that Washington wanted it a lot more than they did. I mean, you could just about see it out there. I thought as the series was going on, I really was confident. We predicted that it'd go 7 games. We predicted it was going to be a tough series. But I thought the Bruins were outplaying Washington most of the games. But that last 6th game, I got a feeling that Washington got a lot of confidence, and it looked like they outplayed the Bruins. The Bruins beat them, but I didn't like the feeling I got in that game.
Well, you certainly couldn't say the Bruins were dominating, and what was really surprising, I guess, was the shocking abruptness of the end. The Bruins were trying to shoot the puck into Washington's end. It suddenly turned into a 2-on-1, and Ward knocks it in just past Thomas's right skate. Now, I wondered, looking it up, how many mixed race or African American or Afro-Canadian players there were in the National Hockey League, and I was surprised there were 28. And so many things I didn't know about number of outstanding players. And I guess I didn't watch hockey that much. I didn't even know Grant Fuhrer, who's in the Hall of Fame, was an African American player. I mean, it shows what I know, nothing about hockey.
But 3 out of the, what was it, the 5th, 6th, 7th seeds are in the 2nd round in the East.
I know. Well, professional sports like parity. Teams have a chance to, go all the way. And the Rangers play the Ottawa Senators tonight, and Ottawa's played them tough, so anything can happen.
Yeah, if Ottawa beats them, then it's the last 4 seeds are in the 2nd round. I mean, the NHL is real competitive. I mean, I know towards the end of the year I was watching a lot of the Bruin games. Every team they went up against was very, very competitive, gave them a tough game. But it's a long season. Bruins came off of a long season last year when they won the Stanley Cup. I just think it got to them. I really do, mentally.
And while we tape, it's the NFL's biggest meat market ever. The NFL draft starts tonight. And what do we expect? Patriots probably trade their draft choices because that's what they like to do.
Yeah, they have the 27th and the 31st pick. They're going to trade one of their picks. What they'll do is, a lot of people think they'll trade the 31st pick, but if they have a couple of players there they like and they don't think that the 28th, 29th, or 30th team is going to pick them, they may trade the 27th pick. What they'll do, I don't think they have a 5th round pick. I know they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 3rd, I think a 4th. But what they'll do is they'll trade one of the 1st round picks for a 1st next year and a 4th or a 5th this year. They do it all the time.
Right.
And they're not confident in those players in that area to draft.
And it's been said there's somewhere between 16 and 24 first-round caliber players. We don't know. And obviously the Patriots think there'll be more value at some other time, and they're willing to do that. Sometimes the attitude is, well, the more guys we have, some of them might work out. After all, they have players like Brady, Edelman, etc., low-round choices that have been serviceable players. However, most of us think that, the reason a guy gets drafted in the 1st round is because people think more highly of his production and athleticism ability. Now that they have somewhat of a rookie wage scale, that's not an excuse to trade out of the 1st round.
Well, Belichick likes players that are coachable. And he doesn't care if the experts have these players going in the 2nd round. He'll take them in the 1st round if he likes them and he knows he can coach them up. I mean, you just look at this. They've already picked up 5 free agents, all right? I mean, Lloyd was probably their number 1, but they have a free safety, they have a defensive end, and then they have an offensive lineman. So you look at that, and then you look at the injuries. Pryor will be back next year, very good defensive lineman. Cunningham will be back. Let's see what he does. He's been injured 2 years in a row. Darling will be back. Their number 2 pick from last year was out all year, just about all season. So they're actually just like draft picks coming back.
Well, a key for me is what they decide to do with McCourty. If they're really planning to move McCourty to safety for whatever reason, then that means they have weakness at the cornerback spot and they have to look there. Obviously, another issue is, do you take players who have character issues? And there are ordinary character issues, and then there's special character issues, like this player from North Alabama, Janoris Jenkins, who is father of, it remains to be seen how many children.
4 children.
4 with an asterisk because
is he a cornerback?
He's a cornerback. There's another paternity test pending. And he says, well, it's really not, these women are not seeking to extract money from him, and his lawyers are saying, yeah, that's because you don't have any yet.
Yeah, there are a number of defensive backs coming out from LSU and Alabama. There's like 5 of them coming out, and they're all rated high. But we'll see. I mean, again, he has Dowling coming back. Dowling was injured in college. He was injured last year. If he moves McCourty to cornerback, which I think he's going to, Moore really came on. And he has Arrington, who he likes. You know, Arrington's one of those, he's not flashy.
Well, and they got Will Allen from the Dolphins.
Right, and they got Allen. And then they got that free safety from San Diego.
Gregory.
Free agent. So, you know, let's see. But they proved in the playoffs that they're as good as anybody. I mean, they outplayed the Giants, but they didn't get the breaks.
Well, you got to be able to get off the field, get the defense off the field, and you know it's simple. The team that wins is the team that executes better, and the Patriots didn't execute well enough.
Right in that game. I mean, they worked on stripping the ball. They stripped it 3 times. They recovered it once, but they had 12 men on the field. 2 other times the Giants recovered it, and that's all luck for the Giants. The Patriots did their job there, except one play where the Patriots had the 12 players.
And we look back in history. Who remembers who all the Minnesota Vikings defensive backs were? Well, you didn't have to remember them because they had the Carl Ellers and Alan Pages of the world who were constantly pressuring the quarterback. It's a little tougher to do that now with the rule changes, allowing holding, basically.
Right, and I think things look, I mean, look at the Patriots situation, Ron. I mean, they're one of the top teams in football for the next 5 years. They're young, they're talented. He's got other players coming in to help out. I mean, the key here now is Welker. What are they going to do with Welker? Are they going to give him a 3-year contract, $27 million, maybe $20 million, you know, guaranteed? I wouldn't give it to him. I wouldn't give him 3 years of $9 million.
Well, the issue often comes up about, did a system make the player, did the player make the system? And that's a big question mark.
Well, he was good coming out of Miami, though, right?
He was good, but he wasn't 100%.
No, he wasn't where he is now, but he was good, and he was young then. But the thing is, you got to play like Welker, small player. That pass that Brady threw to him that he dropped against the Giants, number one, he should have caught it. The biggest pass of his career, he drops it. That has to say something about, you know, him wanting $27 million over the next 3 years. If I was the Patriots, I'd say, listen, you know, when we needed you the most, even though you've had great years, you dropped the ball.
Well, I never think you should be surprised by what the Patriots do. If they come out and draft a wide receiver in the first round, they could do that because it's thinking the guy's a great receiver and a kickoff returner. You never know. But obviously we're concerned about the defense.
Yeah, the defense, the solid linebacker. You know, we like Fletcher. We like Ninkovich.
We like Spikes.
You know, Spikes and Mayo. You know, hopefully Cunningham can come back, you know, and do the job.
The kid Markel Carter, they supposedly like him a lot.
Yeah, Carter looked good. You know, look good. They played him in the playoffs a few. You know, they put him in there in special situations. But they're solid there. They pick up another one. They have 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Of course, they're not going to use them all.
It's always good to have great offensive linemen. Volmer was hurt a lot. You know, Light's on the retired list now. So I expect an offensive lineman as one of those first 4 picks.
Yeah, but Copen's coming back. You know, that's big, him coming back. And again, Light going, Sola moves over to there. Hopefully Volmer's all right. Hopefully they sign Waters. He hasn't signed with them yet, has he?
Well, he hasn't decided whether he's going to retire or come back yet, as far as we know. I mean, if they draft a guard earlier, then...
Hey, Ron, I would love to see them get a great offensive lineman. Maybe there's a great offensive lineman sitting there at 27. You know, take him. We talked about that. If you have a real good football player there, no matter what position, you can take him. Except tight end.
Well, what happened in 2007, they lost the game because they couldn't defend the pass rush more than anything else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable what happened to them in that game. I mean, no one could block him. Mankins was getting run over.
Well, and there's other news in the NFL, too. The Patriots with Spygate seem like pikers to what the Saints did, if in fact they used electronic eavesdropping to snoop on the other team's coaches. The Saints deny it, but pretty much the Saints are in total denial mode now.
But what are they going back to, like 2004 and that? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's 8 years ago.
Well,
who came out with that anyway?
To me, if you're stealing signs with hand signals or color cards, whatever, that's one thing. But if you start using electronic devices to directly pick up the audio, that you've taken it to another level.
I mean, if they ever prove that, I mean, forget the Saints. I mean, God.
Any other surprises you expect in the draft tonight?
I don't know. Again, the surprise. What surprise you going to have with the Patriots? I mean, the linebacker from BC is supposed to go maybe between 8 and 12. What's his name?
Keathley.
I mean, they said it at the Combine. I didn't even know it. I read an article about him today. They go down to Florida, and they work out down there to get ready for the Combine. They spend like 16 weeks, whatever they spend down there. And he says they wake him up at 6:30, and they work him and work him and work him. But they have coaches there that are critiquing them every day, and they tell them where they are right now in the draft. Would they be in the first round, second round, what they have to do to go up. And they work on it. And he did an unbelievable job down there from what the coaches said. And then when he went to the Combine, he just blew everybody away. He blew them away. He's going to be the first middle linebacker selected.
Well, they're talking about 11 or so for him, but you never know. I guess he could probably sneak into the top 10. There's no character issues with him.
Well, that's because you have the two quarterbacks going 1-2, and then I hear there's another quarterback that may be going 4th.
Well, the quarterback from, is he from Texas Tech, Tannehill? I think they're talking about the Dolphins wanting to get him.
Is he the tall one? Is he about 6'5", 6?
I don't.
Yeah, but there are like 4 of them, and they may go in the top 10, which will open up things. I mean, there'll be a lot of good players around. What I'm hearing, there's going to be a lot of good players, like from 10 to 18. They're all before the Patriots picks. And then after that, it levels off. It goes from like 21 all the way to like 40, 48, 50, and you can pick anybody in that area. That's why a lot of people are saying that the Patriots may trade down in both of their selections.
Well, as much as the Patriots take abuse for the ones they didn't get, during the Belichick era, they've drafted more Pro Bowl players than any other team. So
yeah, that's amazing. But you know what? You're successful, so more players are going to make the Pro Bowl.
Oh, this is true.
And he really coaches them up. I mean, that's what he loves players he can coach. That's why he likes working with players like Moore. And there's that back from UMass.
Oh, Hedabo.
Hedabo. He likes him. He's a safety, and he can cover the slot receivers also. So, I mean, things are looking real good with them. And, at the end, they're fine with Gonzalez now. So if he's healthy, and they may say Gonzalez can slip into Welker's spot.
Well, let's hope we don't have to see Matthew Slater playing safety in a key game next year. We'll be right back with our next segment.
Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Greetings. Another banner year ends for another Boston sports team. Patriots lost the Super Bowl. Celtics are old and probably will get bounced out of the playoffs. The Red Sox, off to a heck of a start, aren't they? And coming to a golf course near you, last year's world champions, Stanley Cup winning Boston Bruins. Turn out the lights, the party's over. Somewhere, Don Meredith is singing. But give credit. This went 7 games. This wasn't like the Bruins showed up and mailed it in. It's just, they just weren't really there like they were last year, were they? And give some credit to the Capitals. They weren't intimidated. I mean, the Bruins could not get them out of that defensive alignment. Did you notice every time the Bruins got the puck up ice, 2 defensemen were always back. They constantly had the puck triangled, always a guy on every side, sweep the puck away, no rebounds. Okay? I mean, what are you going to do? Even the fact that inexperienced Braden Holtby played the series of his life, and he kind of played goalie the way Tim Thomas plays goalie. Over 7 games, the Bruins got very few rebounds that they actually got a quality second chance or a third chance. There just weren't any. What are you supposed to do? It was historic. 7 one-goal games. It's never happened before. Might never happen again. What are you going to do? That was it. We're talking NHL history. But hey, you know what? The Capitals executed their game plan to a T. I mean, you might say, okay, it went 7 games. Well, they were a 7th seed. I mean, the Bruins, 2nd seed. Come on, you're supposed to swat these teams out of the way. But hey, you know what? 3 games in the Garden, they lost. What are you supposed to do? Who's to blame? This is Boston. We got to have somebody to blame, don't we? Whose fault is it? Okay, let's start off. Marchand, what happened to you? Where were you? Where was that pesky little guy? Yeah. You know what? It's not your fault. You're just one guy. Okay? We got to have more people to blame, though, don't we? I'd like to know Tyler Seguin had those awesome moves. He would go flying up the right wing, and he would get off a quality shot. And you're going to tell me that they couldn't come up with something to spring him more often like that? Come on, Tyler Seguin's puck skills. Come on. We needed more of that. Okay, how about David Krejci? What happened to him? What are you going to do? And then what happened to Claude? Excuse me, Claude. What happened to Claude? You know, last year he was a master. He was like Scotty Bowman with matching lines up. And this year, I don't know, it didn't seem like they could get any kind of combination untracked. Then there's injuries. You know what? I mean, what are you going to say? You know, you could talk about Patrice Bergeron not being able to take faceoffs. Did that hurt? I'm sure it did. But what are you supposed to do? You know, 2 years ago, you had Krejci was hurt, and they lost 4 straight to Philly. Last year, they were healthy, although Nathan Horton was hurt towards the end. But hey, they still won, didn't they? They won the cup. And you want to talk about injuries? Washington was down to a 3rd-string goalie. We couldn't beat a 3rd-string goalie. Hey, what are you going to do? One thing I would like to say, though, game-winning goal, Joel Ward, he's a hockey player. He happens to be an African-American. His skin color is irrelevant. I thought it was a disgrace that anybody should bring up anything negative about that. You know what? Good for him for scoring the biggest goal of his life. Race really has no business being brought into anything that has to do with sports. You know what? Shame on anybody that wants to resort to that, because I'll tell you what, the Bruins got their rear ends beaten on the ice. Okay? The Stanley Cup that they got to parade all over town for the last year, it's over with now. Someone else is going to do it. And I'll tell you, they blew a golden opportunity because the Rangers look like they're on the way out. And if not, they certainly don't look like a cup winner. Could be wrong. Washington doesn't look like a cup winner. Pittsburgh's gone. Couldn't play defense anyway. Philadelphia's still here. They can't play defense. Detroit Red Wings, they're already on the golf course. Probably going to have a best ball tournament against the Bruins. So what are you supposed to do? It's all over with. No more hockey. Golf links are coming up. And anyway, the draft is this weekend. And camp opens pretty soon. The only thing I can say is, hey, we still have the Patriots.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Welcome back to our sports conversation. And tonight we have Mike Stone of the Boston Cannons. Now, he may not be a household name yet, but it's going to be pretty soon after people see this show and this interview. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your role in the Cannons.
It's my 3rd year playing on the team, just coming off a championship season, and I'm a midfielder on the team, and looking forward to another good season with the team.
Now, what does a midfielder do? What are you responsible for?
Midfield is the position that plays both offense and defense. So you have attackmen that stay on the offensive side of the field. You have defensemen that play on the defensive half, and then the midfielders go in between, transition the ball, and then stay on offense.
Can you attack as a midfielder?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. When you're playing offense, you're another offensive player trying to score goals like everybody else.
Now, you're a pretty normal-sized guy. In the game we saw last year, a lot of these gentlemen were not normal-sized guys. They were really big, powerful NFL linebacker-looking guys. How does that work out?
Yeah, I usually try to run away from those guys. There is actually a good mix of size in the league, and you definitely have the bigger players. But lacrosse is an interesting sport because so much of it is dependent on your stick skills that you can be on the smaller side and still be able to be an effective player.
Now, midfield is basically like a point guard, right? You're the ones, you start the play, right?
It can either be generated from the midfield or the attack. It kind of varies, but you get to carry the ball in transition mostly and try to make plays that way. So mostly if something's happening in transition, it usually starts with a midfielder.
How many players are on the team? Total players usually.
On the field at once.
On your team, not on the field.
We have 24 players, and then a few practice squad players, and we dress 19 for a game.
You dress 19 for a game?
Yeah.
There's a lot of interest in lacrosse development, young players. What would your advice be to younger players as far as the best way to develop into an effective player?
Yeah, I think I get asked that question a lot, and it's usually a very basic answer, and it's just playing wall ball and developing your stick skills. It's really the name of the game, and like I said earlier, you can be any size. It's just how well you can handle the ball and play effectively, and that all comes from playing wall ball, playing catch off a wall, and developing your stick skills.
Now, do you play most of the game when you're out there, or do you sub in and out?
Midfielders sub in and out. You'll have defensemen and attackmen who don't quite have to run up and down the field as much, who can stay in the game much longer, but midfielders are a little bit more of like a hockey shift, maybe like a minute or so.
Because you're basically running up and down the field on every play.
Yeah, and the position is becoming a little more specialized, where you have defensive midfielders, and then once the ball gets transitioned to offense, they'll come off, and the offensive midfielders will go in. So, yeah.
So where are you? You more offense?
I'm an offensive midfielder. Yeah.
Now, we're noticing that in baseball, the players are dictating to the coach, the management, when they play, where they play, what they do. How do you think that would really fly in Major League Lacrosse?
I think some of that is necessary, not to be demanding what's happening, but, guys need to communicate with the coach where they feel comfortable going from, like dodging from, and what systems they feel comfortable in. And I think, you have to, as a coach, gear your systems towards the players that you have. But when you get players being too demanding, that's I think that's a little over the line. You should let the coach handle most of that.
Now, how do you prepare yourself for the season? When do you really start working out and get ready physically for it?
Probably 4 or 5 months before the season starts. Our team has a sponsorship with Cats Performance Training, and so they let us go in there, and they kind of take care of the performance side for us, the fitness side. And so I try to get in there about 3 days a week, starting a few months beforehand, and then a month or two, maybe 3-4 days a week.
Where do you live?
I live in Alston.
No, where are most of the players from?
We have about half our team in the Boston area, but the other half is in New York or Baltimore.
They come down and work out with you?
A lot of that is on their own. It's not really formalized fitness. It's mostly, the league hasn't progressed to a place where they can pay you like a normal professional salary, and so most players have other jobs that they have to be going to midweek, and it's kind of on each individual to get themselves in playing shape. And if you do, you're much more likely to be successful.
So if you have a game on Saturday, do you have to go somewhere and practice the day before, or pretty much people just show up cold and play?
No, we'll practice the day before. Everybody flies in on a Friday, and we'll get practice in Friday night, and then Saturday morning do some walkthrough and go over some more of the system stuff and go over scout and some video, and then play Saturday night.
Do you practice at Harvard Stadium too?
Yes, we do.
Now you have a new coach this season. Is that going to impact anything about style of play or anything that fans will notice a difference from last year?
Well, the focus going into the season was to keep the core of the team together, and the new coach has done a great job of of keeping our guys together. There was an expansion this year, so they added 2 more teams, which really threw a wrench in a lot of the rosters of the teams in the league. But we were able to keep everyone together for the most part, and so I think a lot of it will be the same. But I'm excited for what Coach Duffy will bring as well. He's got a little bit of a different personality, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Is Paul Rabel back?
He is back.
How
yes.
is it playing with him?
It's a lot of fun playing with him. You find yourself open a lot. He draws a lot of attention, and he's a great team player as well. And when he's drawing that attention, he'll move the ball. But you also know you have the best player in the world, and so if something needs to happen, you have a good shot of getting that done as a team.
He looks like he could play, to me, a middle linebacker in pro football. And with that build he has, what is he, about 6'3", about 240?
Yeah, I think he's around.
And he's
6,
quick as a cat.
There. Yeah, he's fast.
Now you had the leading scorer in the league, didn't you?
Yeah, Matt Posque.
Posque.
Yeah, the tackman.
Is he back?
He is back as well. So yeah, we were able to keep those guys.
So you're going to be very strong again.
Yeah, we should have a really strong team.
Tell us a little bit about your day job and other interests.
So I recently started a company that allows donors to know exactly how their money's being used when they donate to nonprofits, and so most of my day is spent developing that. And before then, I was a restaurant manager for a while in New York City, and I moved back home when I got drafted to play lacrosse, and was a sales rep for a sports apparel.
How do the nonprofits give you information about where their funds go?
So we wanted to make online donations transparent and let people know the effect they're making when they give to charity. And the way we've structured it is similar to a wedding registry model, in which nonprofits will create a needs list of the goods that they need, because all organizations need money, but they also need goods. They spend that money on goods, and so to make it apparent what the actual goods are to their support base, and then allow the supporters to purchase those products for them, is the model that we've used.
So how many people, who do you work with?
It's myself and a good friend of mine from school, and we're working with around 100 nonprofits right now, and many are in the Boston area.
So, for example, I don't know if this would be applicable, if you were working with a food pantry or something, you'd be able to get from them a list of the perishables and non-perishables that they purchase?
Yeah, they express their needs through their needs list, and so they build it however they'd like with whatever their expressed needs are, and then as a donor you can see exactly what their needs are, and you can pick and choose how you'd like your funds to be used at their organization.
And do they go on your site, your website, and do you show all this?
Yeah, it's called givingsomething.com, and we have, it's easy to search for nonprofits that you'd like to support, that, based on categories of your interests, and also many of the nonprofits that we have actively promote their needs list to their supporters, because they understand the value in showing donors, the transparency and the ability to guide their funds.
Who contacts the donors? Do you contact them?
Many times it's the nonprofits that will. They'll say that they just started with this group giving something, they have a needs list, and encourage them to view it.
And you work for the nonprofits? I mean, you basically work. You're basically helping them.
Yeah,
exactly.
them
let the donors know where the money's going.
Absolutely.
Basically, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, certainly. It's sometimes when you receive a solicitation, you don't know whether you're predominantly paying for overhead or administration as opposed to a direct need of the charity. And I can see that how a lot of givers would feel more comfortable knowing they were giving to support a specific need. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the issues we're trying to tackle and find the best way to tackle that. But that's becoming a growing concern with the times people want to. They don't spend their money frivolously. They want to know
how their money's affecting the nonprofits that they give to. And so to provide a platform for them to guide those funds and have that money spent exactly how they wish is valuable for them.
What areas do you cover? Is it basically in this area?
We're nationwide. We have a
Nationwide?
couple international organizations as well. The international organizations that we work with have a domestic office because we only ship domestically, but many of the nonprofits that have international missions will gather products domestically and then bulk ship them or bring them as carry-ons with them when they go abroad.
Do you have a title?
I'm the president of the organization.
Nationwide?
Yes.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Well, I recently started it with my friend. And
How's it going?
It's going well. Yeah, we actually launched on Thanksgiving of 2011, and so we're building up, and we're still small. You know, we work with 100 nonprofits, and many are in Boston. But you know, our goal is to become a main donation source for nonprofits nationwide.
Very good.
Oh, outstanding. People are always looking for opportunities to help those less fortunate, and especially in these times, that's a valuable service.
Yeah, it's rewarding to work on, and I enjoy it a lot.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Middlebury College.
Middlebury?
Up in, Vermont, yeah.
Did you play lacrosse there for all 4 years?
I did, yes.
Varsity?
Yes, yeah.
And what was your, I know you scored a lot there from what I hear. How many goals you get your last year?
Yeah, I'm not quite
50
sure,
something?
but yeah.
54?
Yeah, I think
I
in
thought
the
I
50s.
read 50, in the 50s.
Yeah, a lot more than I'm scoring now, but hopefully I'll get back there.
No, it's givingsomething.com?
Givingsomething.com, yes.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Mike, and we look for a lot of success from you in the future.
Great, thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court. With a year-round training philosophy, BBG can assist you in reaching your full potential as a player with conditioning, basketball fundamentals, position-specific training, and skills and drills taught by the best coaches in New England. For more information, visit our website at visionarybasketball.com or drop into our new athletic performance center located at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Spring sports has been pretty much a mixed bag for the locals. Baseball is 4-5, although they are undefeated in the small division. Middlesex League has always been very competitive in baseball with some strong teams like Reading, Stoneham, etc. Melrose did beat Wakefield 4-3 this week in an extra inning game. And they've had several home runs recently, including one by Brett Barbady. Justin Laffey is their #1 starter, and they look forward to trying to come on strong in the second half and perhaps making the tournament. Girls softball has also performed well lately. We talked about their big opening day win against Reading, and currently they've moved to 5-3, 2-1 in the small division. Morgan Phipps pitched effectively the other day against Wakefield and had a 2-run homer, as did Casey McVicker. Stephanie Crovo, who authored the walk-off homer in the opening game, and Megan Trider have been young players very effective, and Amanda Comito's had a good season so far in center field. Ralph, what's Lacrosse doing these days?
Well, they won their first game against Cambridge Tuesday night at home. Played really well. I mean, the Middlesex League really gets you ready for these out-of-league games. They beat Cambridge, I believe, 16-4, and they just looked tremendous executing the game. A couple of captains, McBride, we had a real good game. Maggie Moriarty. I didn't see her youngest sister, Maeve, there. She's been playing good. She might have been sick or injured. And Hinkle, another senior player, and I believe Brennan played real well too. Another very good player was Hatfield, had an excellent game. But they look really good. What really impressed me, Ron, is how they finished on every pass. They made real good passes, the players cutting in the lane, and they finished every time. They just did a real good job. a JV player who came up. First time I've seen him play, Watson, looked real good also. There's a freshman who's been playing recently, Steele, who's looked real good. And I'm not going to remember all the players. Garofalo looked very good. But they're coming along. But, again, you play the Middlesex League teams. They haven't even played Winchester yet. Winchester's a powerhouse. I read an article on the Globe today about a player from Reading getting a scholarship to Albany State, a full scholarship. A very good player for Reading. But Winchester is the powerhouse. And I've seen Burlington and Woburn, and they're two really good teams. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Winchester come in and play. But again, the girls are looking a lot better than they did earlier in the year. They're working hard.
Girls track has been successful this season with a lone defeat to Wakefield. That occurred during the vacation, and I believe that Melrose was missing about 14 participants from their team. Whether that affected the outcome, I can't say. Olivia Downey's been very successful in the intermediate distances, and Bianca St. Fleur is star dash lady raider. For the boys, they're really struggling. They haven't, to my knowledge, won any Middlesex League contests yet. Kevin Persons and Christian Gentili have a chance to qualify for the states.
I know the volleyball players are working hard to get ready for next season. I believe they're going to be rated #1 in the state coming out. I think they're going to be rated ahead of Barnstable, ahead of Marlborough. They're going to be the powerhouse this year. Every other year, the last 8 or 9 years run,
9
they've
years.
been considered one of the top teams, but not the top team. This year, I believe they're going to be rated the #1 team in the state coming out.
Well, they certainly have the experience, they have the coaching, they have veteran leadership, and come off a state championship appearance last season. So we're certainly going to expect big things from that squad.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed the local sports angle. We'll be back.
This is Matt Poske from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Welcome back. I want to talk a little bit about our favorite sport, basketball. We coach basketball, we watch basketball, we love basketball. We can't play basketball because we're too old and decrepit, which everyone else knows. We can't even demonstrate anything anymore. But the fundamental core of basketball is a game of mistakes. And the teams that make the fewest mistakes usually win. How do you make the fewest mistakes? Well, you learn to cope with pressure. And how do you force the other teams to make mistakes? You learn how to apply pressure. Teams and players don't understand the importance of pressure. If you look at the Celtics, what turned them around this year was Avery Bradley's pressure on the ball. In the NBA, you only have 24 seconds to get a shot off, so you don't get forever. If it takes you 14 seconds to get into your offense, then you're really going to get a poor quality shot off. We emphasize and strongly believe in ball pressure, denial pressure, and avoiding allowing the ball into the lane via either dribble penetration or pass penetration. And teams that are serious about succeeding, whether you're in middle school or the NBA, if you don't apply pressure, especially on defense, you're in trouble.
Yeah, we talked that with our team, our 7th grade girls this year. We talked about that, about pressure, and you saw what it did for our team. I mean, that we were able to compete against just about every team we went up against because the girls really, really worked on their on-the-ball defense and pressure defense, and causes a lot of problems. You see that, like when you're just talking about Bradley and on the Celtics. What's changed with the Celtics? What's made them a lot better since the beginning of the year besides Pierce getting in better shape? Well, Steemsma and Bradley. Bradley, away from the basket, on-the-ball defense is unbelievable, probably the best in the league. Steemsma is one of the best shot blockers in the league. Pressures the offensive player down low. And he's constantly on him. He uses his body really well, Steemsma, down low. I mean, he's learned a lot from Garnett, and he learned a lot when he played in college. And you can see he's going to get better and better. But that's changed everything for the Celtics. Now everybody's confident. Again, we always had Pierce, we had Garnett, we had Allen, we had Rondo. But the two players, again, are Bradley and Steemsma.
The huge changes that took place in basketball started in the 70s, a lot of which were responsible for Bobby Knight. The Big Ten was an up-tempo league, and Bobby Knight's Indiana teams with their half-court defense revolutionized the way basketball was played, taking the the play more away from the players and putting it in the coach's hands. So Knight's teams won 3 national championships, and what you've seen is more and more coaches trying to micromanage everything and take away the game from the players. I believe in going the other direction. Give the game to the players, make it fun, make it fast. Basketball is a game meant to be played fast, and the players enjoy it more, and they have a better opportunity to show the skills they have in the open court.
Well, you're right. And again, going back to how we coach, we let our girls, even at 7, a lot of high school team coaches will not let their players do what we let our players do. They decide whether they have the advantage or not in the transition game. The only way they're going to get good at it is to let them do it. So we play the up-tempo defense, in-your-face defense, which I really believe is that we play the best defense in the North. You can take any of the River Valley A-League teams. They all play zones, most of them, in the big games. We never play a zone. We stick man-to-man, pressure defense, in-your-face defense. It leads to more turnovers. It leads to a better game. The players are more involved, and they anticipate a lot better.
Well, and we ask the players how they want to play. They want to play fast. They want to run, and they want to press.
And look how they make the decisions. I mean, you understand. I know you're down on against the real good teams we're turning the ball over, but they're going to get, the more they do it, they're going to get better and better at it. They have to face that type of pressure against the great teams.
Well, and if you can run effectively, it totally neutralizes zone defenses. They don't even they're not back. They can't set up the zone.
Right.
And teams, if they run regularly, they won't turn the ball over so much because they're accustomed to that. And when Melrose had some of the really successful teams over the years, they were playing up-tempo basketball.
Well, as a coach, a high school coach who does not let his players run, he doesn't trust them. He doesn't believe in them, and he's telling them he doesn't.
Well, and the
and
players
you don't think
know
they
that.
don't know that? They know that, and are they as confident? No. Do they enjoy the game as much? No. And that's my belief. My belief is up-tempo defense, rebounding, transition.
Well, the other advantage is if you play fast, more players get a chance to play because you have to substitute to keep the players fresh. If you take more outside shots in transition, the rebounds come out farther. So you still get to get rewarded for effective rebounding. And, you know, the other team, if they only have a smaller number of effective players, they get worn out because they're not accustomed to playing that fast.
Right, and you look at the Celtic teams in the past, when they played that fast break game, you know, especially with Heinsohn coaching them, who hit all those jump shots from the foul line? You remember?
Well, JoJo White.
And Don Nelson. Remember Don Nelson, one of the slowest players in basketball. He would trail the play, pressure be on the defense would collapse against the fast break. Nelson wide open at the foul line. It was unbelievable how many jump shots he hit from the foul line.
So at least for our players, we want you to know, we're going to, not only have we played fast, we're planning on playing faster. So you better get used to it. Start doing your running now.
Right. I mean, it's going to be this summer, it's going to be in-your-face defense, pressure. Everybody's got to get used to that. They're at the stage now where they've improved, they've progressed, and they're ready to play high school-type basketball right now. And, you know, I'm looking, usually when your 8th grade season, between your 7th and 8th grade season, that's when you really improve the most. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, with the Celtics on the cusp of starting the NBA playoffs, it's hard to know what to expect from them, especially when we're not entirely sure what the injury status is. Now, some of this may be blowing smoke before the playoffs. You know, different people, they got this injury or that to try to, play a little possum.
Can you explain to me what the injury Steensma has on the bottom of his foot? It's plantar.
Oh, well, plantar fasciitis is people have inflammation in the bottom of their foot, and usually that comes about from a lot of hard running over a long period of time. Obviously, the way to try to heal that up is rest over an extended period of time, and in the NBA, that's not going to happen. So the best you can do is try to get local treatments, massages, ice, anti-inflammatories. They might do a little injection therapy, strap up the foot, but he's just going to have to live with the pain, which I'm sure a lot of guys do.
He's a huge key, Ron. Steens was a huge key with his defense, especially when Garnett goes out of the game. You need him in there. His presence, he's learned an awful lot from Garnett. He handles the pick and roll well. He attacks it, and then he recovers well. He's very good rebounder now, blocks shots, makes players change their shots. And with Bradley in there, too, I mean, that team's become a solid team. They feel they can beat anybody, Ron.
Pretty much in the NBA, you're going to see at least one screen, if not double screen, sequential screens, and screening of the screener in order to try to get much more quality shots. The defense is so good in the NBA. It may not seem good all the time, but these guys are so quick that people have to use screens to get open.
Right, and you know the only team that really doesn't use a screen for the point guard is the Celtics because of Rondo. Rondo can't hit that outside shot. He's hitting it a little better. So the Celtics normally don't run as pick and roll with Rondo. What they do is they run it with Pierce. They try to get a switch where Pierce gets the small guard on him so he can hit that jump shot from the foul line. So that's most of the screens the Celtics set are for basically to have the switch with Pierce. You know, but the other teams, I mean, they drive me crazy. They run so many picks. Paul, constantly they're setting picks for Paul, you know, for LA Clippers, but the Celtics won't.
Now, obviously, Ron Artest, a.k.a. Meta World Peace, whatever that means. So much for the peace movement with anybody who didn't see, Ron Artest, World Peace, set a totally devastating elbow to James Harden's head against Oklahoma City. World Peace has been suspended for 7 games, and I think he got off cheap.
What did you think about that? To me, I don't think he knew what he was doing. I mean, he knew what he was doing, but he didn't.
Well, he had contact with the player,
but do you see the stuff? He makes the stuff over 2 players, right? And he comes back and he's celebrating. He's excited. And you know him. He loses his head. And he's going back, and Harden brushed him. And so as he's celebrating, someone got in the middle of his celebration. That's how he reacted. Well, and he just decked him.
I don't even know if he could have known who the player was. What surprised me is almost, how do you know if it wasn't a guy in your own team?
I know. He would have did it to anybody. He lost it. It wasn't like he said, I'm going to hit him with an elbow. In a split second, I mean, if that was a wall and he bumped into it, he would have freaking hit the wall with his elbow. He just kind of like lost.
Well,
I think that's why he only got 7 games, Ron. Well, because Walton said he should have been thrown out for next year, too, the playoffs this year and next year.
Well, the NBA violence really got ratcheted down way back. Nobody probably remembers when Kermit Washington punched out Rudy Tomjanovich. And
that was the worst thing I've ever seen in sports.
Really extreme damage to Tomjanovich. I think he had multiple facial fractures, and he missed pretty much a whole season.
That was bad.
And, you know, I don't think Kermit Washington was inherently a terrible person, but obviously he paid a severe price for that.
He thought Tomjanovich was coming after him, and Tomjanovich was coming over to break things up. And he just turned and leveled him. That was bad. I remember that.
But the National Hockey League is pretty much the same, except they have sticks, too.
Well, the thing about the Hockey League, which really got me down in the Hockey League, was Cook when he decked Savard. Savard loses his career, and Cook, I don't even know if he got suspension on that. He later got a suspension on a hit after that. But he comes from nowhere and decks him with an elbow in the head, and no suspension.
Well, what about Rafi Torres in the playoffs against Hassa? He didn't even get a penalty. He leaves both feet, charges the guy, shoulders the guy in the head, and he's a repeat offender. You know, I just don't understand. What does that got to do with hockey?
That could be a real violent sport, hockey. I mean, I told you the time I'm listening to a sports show, and this girl calls up the sports show. She's going back to Connecticut with her father. First hockey game she ever saw. That was the time they had 4 fights in the first 15 seconds in a Bruins game. And I'm saying, this girl, probably 16 years old, goes to her first hockey game, and she's bragging about the fights she saw.
Well, you know the saying, I went to the fights and a hockey game broke out.
But I'll tell you, though, this Washington Bruins series, I mean, most of it was really at a high level, though.
Right. There weren't as many cheap shots in that series. And I know they were talking on sports radio today about some fans complaining about the officiating. I didn't really see that.
No, a couple of times they say they didn't blow the whistle when a player was down on the Bruins, and they did it for Washington. They stopped the game.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics do in the playoffs. They played well down the stretch. Their defense was outstanding, especially with Bradley and Garnett. If they're healthy and they can, hopefully if they can shorten some of the series so they don't have to go 7 all the time.
Yeah, they have the players run. I mean, if they're healthy. I mean, they don't even need Allen. That's my thinking. They don't need Allen to play to be successful.
Well, he's a defensive liability relative to
Right.
Bradley.
You want Bradley in there, and then Petrus in there, and Dooling's playing a lot better now.
I think over something like the last 10 games, Bradley averaged 19 points a game. It wasn't like he was a stiff on offense.
Right, no, he's been playing great. 28 points. The last game he didn't shoot well, 2 for 10.
Right.
But the game before that, he had 28.
Well, I think the question is some of the other teams are going to start picking up on he likes to cut to the basket, and the big guy's going to rotate over and deal with that.
Well, that's fine. Then he's leaving one of his players because Bass and Garnett can both shoot. See, what the Celtics have, Bass is playing the 4 now, Garnett's playing the 5. Then you have Pierce in there with Bradley and Rondo. So now, I mean, if they come over and help, there's Garnett wide open for a 12-footer.
Bass is really an outstanding shooter.
Right. Bass is a good shooter. This is the perfect team for him to run because he's a good shooter with no one on him. And a lot of times players are leaving him to help out, and the Celtics are very good at moving the ball. So this is definitely the perfect team for the Celtics. Bass can't get his own shot one-on-one. Once in a while he'll drive to the basket and score. I mean, but Bass can hit the open shot, which is great. So when they leave, Bass's man leaves to help out on Pierce or help out on Bradley or Garnett, they kick it to Bass. He hits that shot, and he's become a good rebounder this year. But that's what the Celtics have. When you have those players in there with Rondo at point, and you have Bradley, Bass, Pierce, and Garnett, most of those guys can hit that open shot, and they move the ball well. And when you have Bradley moving, cutting, and the defense is going to try to adjust to that, they're going to leave players open. So it's going to be good.
Well, let's move on to baseball. The Red Sox are in what I call the empty pockets theory of baseball. The ownership empties the fans' pockets, and now with $60+ million of players on the disabled list, there's no money to have anybody in the bullpen who doesn't stink. So we have a bunch of retreads or worse pitching out of the bullpen. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. I heard that there was going to be a press conference tonight about Crawford's visit to Dr. James Andrews in Alabama. That can't be a good thing. The rumor
60
was,
days.
I had heard it was going to be 3 months.
Yeah.
So, on the other hand, Cody Ross is probably better than Crawford right now anyway.
Well, Ross, Sweeney, what's his name, Aviles at shortstop, they're all hitting the ball really well for them. Comes down to Red Sox have the hitting to win the World Series. They have the hitters to win the World Series. If Euclid stays healthy, he's gonna hit like he always did. I mean, he's got to be healthy. Last 2 years he's been injured, and that's killed the Red Sox.
Well, I don't know if he's still injured.
No, I know, that's the key.
And obviously.
And they have the starting pitching run.
On the door, knocking on the door in AAA, Middlebrooks has 9 home runs already.
Wow. He had another one against the Yankees farm team yesterday. Red Sox lost, but he had another one.
It's still AAA, so it's a big difference between hitting home runs in AAA and the show. Now,
but Valentin's got to stop making better moves. You hear what he did yesterday?
Which one yesterday?
When he put all righties up.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that before.
I was confused. He thought the pitcher on the Twins was a left-hander.
I'm feeling bad for him, Ron. I really am. I mean, he can do nothing right. Things will go. If they keep winning, I mean, things will get better. But I mean, God, how do you make that? You don't know the pitcher's a righty. But they told him, and he made the changes before the game.
Well, what's really interesting, and the American League East is a lot better than people think. And to me, the Red Sox...
And not as good as people think.
Well, the Red Sox are not as good as people think. I said before,
and
I didn't think...
The Yankees aren't. Now, you think the Yankees are real good. The Yankees are not real good.
All right. Well, I think the Yankees...
But Toronto and Baltimore are better than people think. And you love Tampa.
Well, and tomorrow the Red Sox face... I think it's tomorrow, or maybe it's tonight. They face Philip Hummer, the pitcher who pitched the no-hitter. I don't know if you saw the end of the no-hitter. Yeah. To me, it looked like a check swing. I don't think the guy swung.
You had to call that a swing.
Well, especially after the previous no-hitter, the guy...
And then the batter argues instead of runs down to first.
I know. He might have made it. Yeah. But
I'm glad for the pitcher, though. That was great to see. They showed that. I was watching the Yankee game, and they cut over to that. That was great to see.
Well, it's always exciting to watch a guy going for a no-hitter, and especially for a perfect game. And, right, if you're the umpire, you have to have a lower threshold to call strikes. if it's close, it's a strike. And if you're the batter, I'm the umpire, I'm telling you, if it's close, it's a strike.
Thank God there was nothing like that, because he was 3-0 in the first batter in the 9th inning, and he came back and got him. And then again, thank God that he swung at that, because that would have killed his perfect game. But that's something he'll never forget. And the good thing, too, is he just had a baby. His wife just had a baby, and his wife was home watching the game on TV. So that was nice.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.